Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Today is May 12th, 2026, and we're coming to you live from the worldwide headquarters of Derek Talks Real Estate in Locust, North Carolina. And today we are in the main studio A. Um, hey, everybody. As you know, all the Derek Talks Real Estates that we do here on YouTube are unscripted. So we're just going to chat, going to have a little conversation, kind of fill you in on some thoughts that I have rolling around in my head today as they spill out. Um, Not sure how long today's is going to go. My goal is to be between 10 and 15 minutes, but as you know, sometimes my 10 or 15 minutes turns into 20. So, hey, we'll see what kind of flows out of up here today and makes its way out here. So, today I want to kind of dig a little deeper. We were in our Market Myth Monday that I posted on Substack yesterday, the short blog, we kind of talked about uh, seller's emotion when it comes to price. But I kind of want to dig a little deeper into that, not just necessarily price, but seller's emotions on other things that can lead to issues for a seller and hurt them with selling the home. And I'm gonna kind of talk about a few things I've seen over the years, some recent, some not so recent, and just kind of talk about the market we're in right now and why you can't let your emotions get the best of you. So, as you know, we're in a market right now that things are either selling within the first 2 weeks or it's taking 100 days, right? Um, The thing that's helping it sell within the first couple weeks is when we price right, when we have the home prepped properly for going on the market, doing the things that we need to do to sell the house, right? Um, that's what's helping the house sell quicker. The people who are taking their emotion out and looking at numbers, statistics, looking at what the market is telling us, those are the people who are selling their homes quicker. The ones who it's taking longer are the ones who are trying to price it higher because of whatever reason it may be. And we're going to cover a couple of those here in just a little bit, or who will not make the necessary aesthetic changes that may need to be made to the home to make it more appealing on the open market. And again, we're going to kind of have that conversation. So let's talk about the uh, pricing emotion thing first. So I find it interesting in real estate, and us agents can be slow to make this change too. So I don't want to place all the blame on the sellers because some of us as agents have a hard time as well accepting the change in the market that has come because we are all to a fault. We want to please our clients and we want to make sure our clients are happy. So sometimes we may be a little hesitant or slow to be forceful with our opinion. I've always said that I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to advise you, give you the best advice that I can give you, and let you make the ultimate decision because it's ultimately your house. I would say that right now, when you're selling a house, you need to get that thought out of your head of it's your house, right? And here's why I say that. Right now, in the market that we're in and in the atmosphere that we're in, it's almost a beauty contest versus a property, right? So you need to make sure, number one, that you are making the house appealing to the people who are buying. Um, One of the things that I asked a client the other day because they were not wanting to fix something or change something because they liked the way it looked. And my simple question to them was, well, are you the one buying the house? And they're like, well, no, I'm selling the house. I'm like, exactly. You cannot look at this in the standpoint of what do I like, because That's just not where we are right now. Um, and I've kind of jumped ahead as I typically tend to do. We're talking about pricing and pricing it properly and getting emotions out of the pricing. So, where that comes from is people who, because of what they have put into the home or done to the home, I have heard people. I'll go in and sit down and talk to them. I have one person that I've been speaking to about selling their house, who I will not be selling their house because, quite honestly, they are too stuck on the stuff that they've done to the property and want to put the house on the market for about 75, $80,000 more than the house is worth. And I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to have my name on a sign that sits in a yard for 2 years, because that's what's going to happen. Um, we look at homes in the neighborhood that are on the market right now. In that same neighborhood, they have homes in there for 380 days, 400 days, and all of these houses are 40 to $50,000 more than what the comps tell me they should be. And you look at the houses that are selling in that neighborhood that have sold in 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, and they're all priced around that price point that I think the house should be. So again, until they're ready to put it at a reasonable price, there's no need in wasting time putting it on there. Me spending the money to take pictures, me spending time and effort marketing the home, that is just not going to sell. So when we look at the emotional aspect of pricing, we need to make sure and understand that it doesn't matter that you spent $50,000 putting on a deck, or that you spent $100,000 on a pool, or that you spent, how much ever you spent updating this and putting those fixtures in and doing this and doing that. If the market is not going to care, yes, doing those things can help your home sell quicker. It just may not necessarily help your home sell for more, right? So that's just become the standard and the basics now for selling a home. That's why I also tell people you don't need to spend a ton of money doing updates. There are things you can do that are a whole lot cheaper that make the home easier to sell and more likely to sell. But when you look at that emotion of, well, I've put this much money into it, I need to get that money back, especially when you've owned the home for less than 2 years, you're not going to get your return. Um, and especially when you paid more for the house when you bought it than what the home was worth. So you overpaid for the home to begin with, and then you've added stuff to it. You're really not adding that value. All you're adding is emotion to you for having a certain price point. So we've got to take the emotion out. We've got to price based on what the numbers tell us. And when we're looking at comps and we're looking at homes that are exactly the same, that are sitting on the market for over a year, when they're at a certain price point, you have to understand that that's what your home's going to do, right? We need to look at the homes that have sold. We need to look at the homes that have closed. We need to look at the homes that have gone under contract, where their pricing is, and the ones that have sold quickly, especially. This one neighborhood I'm talking about, you have a home that is the exact same floor plan layout, pretty much the same on finishes, and these people are wanting 425 for their home, and this home sold went on the market, went under contract in 15 days at a 339 price point. Right. So when you have a house that is exactly the same square footage and the same floor plan, and the updates, the finishes, the aesthetics are very similar. The only difference is that you came in and put in a whole house water heater, and you took the screened in back porch and closed it in with a more permanent structure. And then you put in a bunch of stone and fancy patio. Well, that doesn't necessarily add value to your home. It doesn't necessarily add to the market price ability of the home. So what it does though is it creates that emotion of, well, I put this into it, that should make my home more valuable. And it doesn't necessarily, especially when we're in a market like we're in right now. I have people ask me all the time, well, um, how much return should I get for the pool that we put in? And it's like, well, you should get the enjoyment of that pool. That's your return. It's an emotional return. You're not necessarily going to get a financial return when it comes to a pool. Um, Pools don't add a lot of financial return. They add, what they do is they just make a property easier to sell. Sometimes they can make the property harder to sell. All right, so that's the main thing, is you cannot let your emotion get in the way on the pricing of thinking, well, my house is worth more than another one, because your house is worth what the market says it's worth. And when we have numbers that show us that the house is worth 339, it's impossible to put it on the market for 425, especially when you purchase the house for 360, right? It's hard to take that. It's hard to understand that the market has corrected in certain areas that much over the last 2 years, but it has. All right, so that's kind of the emotional part of pricing that we have to deal with. So let's talk about the emotional part of not wanting to change the aesthetics. So I have clients that some of them have tastes that are different from other people or the common person, who may have a more colorful palette that they appreciate, or may have a more monochromatic palette that they appreciate, but that monochromaticness is a lot darker, or than the normal person who prefers the lighter stuff. Um, I did have a client recently who the feedback we kept getting on their property was the color and the backsplash in the kitchen, and just that the home seemed dark. It seemed cold. It seemed like it was not welcoming. And all of the feedback that we've been getting for almost 4 months was, if the paint color was different, we would consider it. We don't really want to deal with painting the house. We're looking for a house that has everything already done, us not having to come in and do any updates to finishes except for minor things here or there. And so we finally got this client to agree to paint. And so the client painted. We went white walls, we went white trim, we took a backsplash and changed it to a white tile from a um, dark, kind of almost tin, tin, uh, backsplash. All the trim, all the doors were a dark black or charcoal gray. And we came in and had everything painted white. They had the fireplace painted dark black. We painted the fireplace white, and it made the room in the house look so much better. And so we made those changes within the last week or so, and we have received multiple offers on that property now. We had been getting showings, but no offers. So in the time that we've been on the market, that we could have made those changes 3 months ago when we first were being told, we could probably have kept the price point at a higher price point and sold the house. Instead, we the client wanted the lower price and not do the work, and in the long run, has cost himself more money. So we literally are selling for $30,000 less than where we started, when all of it was corrected by a $3,000 paint and tile job. Right. So that's where, again, not letting your tastes um, get in the way of selling your property. When you know you're selling and you know that you have eccentric taste or one of a kind taste or original taste and aesthetics, you need to understand that not a lot of buyers are going to have that same desire. They're going to want something that's a little cleaner. So if your agent tells you, hey, we probably ought to paint this, take the time and do that. It's going to help you in the long run. Like I said, basically, this person spent about $3,000 last week and has now gone. Is now we're basically probably going under contract later this afternoon. We're just negotiating between two offers right now, figuring out which one we're going to take. Um, and had we done that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, when the price was $20,000 higher, think about the money that they would have been able to put in their pocket instead of just lowering price to try to find that person who was going to buy the house in the condition that it was in. So you have to weigh those things, but emotions were getting in the way. They liked the house the way it looked and didn't want to make the changes because that's what they liked. Well, again, at that point, he needed to look at what the market liked. And so it took time. We finally got it done. So when you're selling the property, understand that if your agent comes to you, they're not trying to get you to spend money. And I'm not a big proponent for spending money to get the house ready for the market if possible, pricing it the right way. But when we have to make a certain amount of money, and the way to guarantee we make that certain amount of money is to spend $3,000 on paint, let's spend $3,000 on paint, right? Instead of costing ourselves $20,000, $30,000 on the pricing. So that's kind of where you need to let emotion get out of the way. And again, we as agents take some blame here as well because we remember 2021, 2022, when we could take a house, didn't matter what it looked like, throw it on the market and have 10 offers within 5 minutes. We're not in that market anymore. And as sellers, you need to understand you're not in that market. So you have to do what the buyers are wanting done, and they are wanting cleaner properties that they can move into without really having to do a lot to it. If they've got to change out, some finishes here or there, some pools in the kitchen, things like that. But then again, that's something that you as a seller can do that's very inexpensive that makes the house look better. So make sure you're having that conversation with your agent as to what are the minor things that we can do around here to make this house more appealing when it hits the market. Okay. Um, but the thing to remember here is just to make sure you don't let emotion get in the way. Sometimes people have a hard time accepting offers because of the memories they have in the house. We experienced that. Kathy and I sold our house 4 years ago. And the house that we sold is the house our daughter grew up in. It's the house that we watched her flourish in. We watched her go from a toddler to um, starting school to move into um, being a preteen to move into being a teenager and then develop into a young lady. It's the house that she lived in when she graduated high school and went off to college. And so, we were in that house from first day of kindergarten to last day of high school. So there's a lot of memories in that house. But when we finally decided to sell, we were just like, okay, this is no longer our house. We're moving into a new house. We need to, let go of those emotions. And you have people sometimes that will have a hard time accepting an offer because of the emotional toll that that house has. When you're ready to sell, take down all your personal photos, get them gone, because that's going to make it easier for you when you're not walking into the home and seeing all the different photos from the memories that you have there. Um, it also helps the buyer because they're not looking at all of your memories. They're knowing that they can go in there and make their own memories. So you've got to make sure that you let that emotion get cleared out, and that is probably the hardest one of them all. We can show you numbers and have you price a house based off what it's actually the market says its pricing should be based off of what you think it should be because of the work you've done on it. We can look at feedback and come in and make the changes from the feedback. But the hardest emotional part of selling a house is getting that personal emotion out of the way. And so you have to make sure you're ready to sell because you could have the best offer come across that first weekend or two, and in your mind, you're not ready to sell. So you turn it down. Right. So you got to make sure you're ready to sell before you put the house on the market. So that's the biggest piece of emotion we have to get out of the way. All right. As usual, I plan on talking 10 to 15 minutes, and we're sitting in on 21 minutes now. So let me go ahead and start wrapping this up. Um, when you're ready to talk, when you're ready to have a conversation about selling your house, if you're in the Charlotte area in North Carolina, if you're in the Charlotte suburbs of South Carolina, feel free to give me a call. Be more than happy to have that conversation with you. You can reach me at derektalksrealestate at gmail.com. You can text me at 704 610 1154. And I'll be more than happy just to answer questions and help you make sure you're ready to sell. If you're in a market that I don't service and you don't know how to find an agent, reach out to me as well. I'll be more than happy to help you find an agent. Up front, yes, I'm going to get a referral fee. That's just how it works. But if you need help finding an agent, if you're in somehow watching this in Arkansas or Alabama or California or Idaho or wherever it may be, I have contacts in all those areas. I can help you find an agent. So, all right. So that's it for today on Derek Talks Real Estate. Um, please do me a favor if you haven't subscribed already. If you just stumbled across this, please subscribe. Check out my blog on Substack. Check out my Facebook page, Derek Talks Real Estate. The blog on Substack is Derek Talks Real Estate. And yeah, just keep an eye out for more exciting content. I say exciting because I know I can kind of drone on, but just for more content that's going to help make things a little clearer for you. And as always, when you reach out to me and have a conversation with me, it's about clarity. It's not about pressure. I'm here to help you figure out your best route, and I truly enjoy that part of my job, helping people figure out what their best option is. And hopefully that option's me. But if not, I've helped you make that decision. So I will have done my job. All right, guys, that's it for today, May 12th, 2026. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. And we will see you on Thursday for our next live stream on YouTube. Take care.